Hey, Southwest pilots. I'm Charlie Mattingly with Leading Edge Financial Planning, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to try to help explain the email you may have received. I think this weekend, today's the 23rd of February, Monday, and I think it was sent out maybe Friday, Saturday, but basically a little bit of difficulty with, I think, the Southwest Airlines payroll system, Workday possibly. And there is a chance that, and I'll cut to the quick, but basically, if you're 50 and over doing the catch-up contribution, there's a chance that on your transition month, instead of 15% of your coming out to your 401k, it could be 30% on that one transition month. We'll describe what that transition month looks like, what the heck that is, what is the 402g limit, and what you can do about this if this impacts you, which I think it probably will if you are participating in the Roth catch-up for this year, 2026. So a couple quick things to define really quickly. The 24,500, which you selected on your Southwest or your Schwab 401k login, you'll see it's under the base pay employee contributions. Swap has told many of you that you need about 14%. So that's a good number that you can hang your hat on to make sure that you get the 24,500. That's really important. That's called the 402g limit. If you don't get that number, you will not get any catch-up contributions. It's got to be sequential at Southwest. And so what's happening is the month that you fulfill or you fill that bucket, the 24,500 or 402g bucket, the month you fill that bucket, you may simultaneously start your catch-up contributions. And that's where the problem comes in because you could have 14% come out for the 402g and another 14% come out for the Roth catch-up. I'll show you an example in a minute. And so that month could be a shock and surprise if you're not ready for it. So let's take a look at that. We'll talk about what that looks like. I'll explain a little better and what you might be able to do about it. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. I used an example of Southwest Captain topped out at the highest pay rate for 2026, flying about 115 trips per month. Of course, we get an 18% non-elective contribution. And this person, as in this example, I'm using 15% base pay employee contribution. Again, the 402g limit, 24,500. You have to fill this bucket before your Roth catch-up contributions will start. Okay, so that's important. And so what's happening is in this example number one right here, of course, this line you have the NEC, the 18%. This line you have in our example, the 15% happening starting in January. So again, nobody flies exactly the same every month, but if you were 115 trips per month, 15% is your contribution, it would be $5,917. So that goes on until May. And in this case, you're going to see that May is our transition month because as you can see, $833 is only contributed because that is what tops off that 402g limit of 24,500. So boom, that bucket is full. And so now the pilot can start the Roth catch-up contributions. And that's exactly what happens, let's say on the subsequent paycheck, or it may be split on the 5th and 20th, whatever. But nonetheless, this is what we thought was going to happen, where the total for the whole 402g and the catch-up, the total would be 15%. But what SWAPA is saying that may not happen. In fact, it may be a 402g top off here, and then another 15% coming out. Okay, another 15% so in this example, it would not be 5,084. It might be 5,917 taken out again. Okay. In this example, it's not that big a deal because the 402g top off was relatively small, $833. So the pilot in this case may not even notice it. So it's not that much different. So that's what SWAPA was talking about. It could be, 15% or it could be 30%. Again, their example was 14 and 28, but you get the deal. All right, so let's look at the next example where it is much more pronounced and it could be a little bit more painful. So down here in the second scenario, 15% is what the pilot chose in this situation, and they're flying 120 trips per month. 15% is the same as it was before, but the 120 trip for pay per month is different. So that means your transition month, we'll call it, is different It happens sooner because you're making more money. So in this case, the 15% of the higher pay is 6,174. So in this case, it didn't take the full 6,174 to top it off, but almost, it took quite a bit, almost 6,000. So in this case, this would, and what Schwab is saying is this would not be $196 that starts the Roth catch up. It might be another 6,174. And so that is where you might get the shock because you got almost 6,000 coming out and another 6,000 coming out in the same month of April. So this is a good example where it wasn't 15%, it was almost 30%. And so that's going to get your attention and maybe cause you to have some stress on your spring break or whatever it might be. All right. So what can you do about it? Well, the first option is to do nothing and just know that you may have 1 month where 30% of your check comes out and you've got some extra cash on the side. Many of you do. And so that's okay. You can handle that. Not worry about any settings or anything like that. But for those of you that don't want that to happen, right now you could go to your Schwab swap a 401k website, Schwab retirement website, and you could turn off the Roth catch-up contribution. Now, you know when to turn it back on is when you, in these scenarios, this was April, they reached the 402G limit of 24,500. You might see that on your pay stub. You might see that when you log in. In this case, it was May that they reached the 402G limit again of 24,500. So if you saw that on your pay stub or you logged in at Schwab retirement plan and saw that, then you could go in there and toggle the Roth catch up back on, and then it'll just continue on the next month. Make sure it starts the next month. Read the print there. It'll tell you when, depending on when you toggle it back on, it'll tell you when that's going to start on there. So just make it to preferably the next pay period, so where you're not so shocked, or maybe even the next month. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, two things to do. One is nothing, but be ready for that transition month when you meet that 402G limit to be a lot that comes out. Or the other one is you could go toggle it off and then back on. The important thing here is to make sure that you meet that 24,500 402G limit. If you don't meet that, if you get $24,499, then you will not be able to do the 401k catch up, Roth catch up in this example. So you've got to get the full 402G limit, then you can start the Roth catch up. I think everybody kind of knows that by now. Please don't hesitate to give us a call. If you have any questions, you can email me directly, Charlie, Charlie, at leadingedgeplanning.com. You could call our office at 865-240-2292. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know how we can help. We might be able to help you do the math and just go, hey, this looks like this month, this particular month may be the one where you get doubled up on if you're not careful. So we can try to help with that. Thank you very much. Please share with anybody that you think might benefit, and give us a call, email anytime. Thank you very much.